Welcome to the ITFreeTraining video on what are claims and the protocols that are used with claims. By the end of this video, you will have an excellent understanding of how federation-based systems use claims to provide access to services and what protocols they use. First of all, what is a claim? To put it in its simplest form, a claim is a statement made by one party about another party. For example, suppose you have a user named Jane Doe. Jane Doe may want to access another service on the network. This service, however, does not know anything about Jane Doe. In order for Jane Doe to access this service, another system called an identity provider is required. The identity provider knows who Jane Doe is and thus is willing to create a claim for her. This claim contains information about Jane Doe, like her identity. If you have ever used your Facebook login to access a non-Facebook site on the internet, this is the same process. Facebook holds your identity. If you want to use your Facebook identity to access another site, Facebook supplies you a claim that contains your identity. Now that Jane Doe has a claim, she can use that claim to access the service. The next point to consider is how claims are packaged. A claim is placed inside a security token, so when dealing with Federation services, you may hear the terms claims and tokens used to describe the same thing. You may also hear the phrase, the server consumes tokens. To understand how this works, let's look at a fictional example first. Consider that you have an employee who has done well. The company has decided to reward the employee by giving them a voucher for a movie. In order to see the movie, the employee would next need to present the voucher to a cinema. Once the voucher has been presented, this is kept and a movie ticket is given to the employee. Once the employee has the movie ticket, they can then use the movie ticket to see the movie. You see how one item is exchanged for another. Federation services will often be configured in a similar way. Let's consider this example of a typical Federation service example. This time, the employee is a computer requesting access to an application. In order to obtain this access, the computer contacts a Federation server in their company. The Federation server issues them a token which contains a claim. This claim may contain details like the name of the person attempting to get access. The token is then presented to the server and it is consumed or destroyed. Next, a second token is created. This token contains details like which server is running that application. If you consider the previous example of the cinema, the voucher allows the employee to see a movie. However, once presented, it is swapped for a movie ticket. The movie ticket contains information on it, like the number of the theater that the movie will be shown in. In this case, the token contains information about which applications the computer may access. Information like this was not available to the first server that created the first token and is subject to change, just like which movie is showing in which theater. Once the token has been created, it is transferred to the computer. This token can now be used to access a claims-aware application. You can see how a claim was encased inside a token and used for authentication. A new token containing a claim was then created to determine what they would access. Thus, when dealing with Federation services, you may see the terms security token and claims are used interchangeably, but they are essentially referring to the transfer of claims. I will now have a look at the protocols that are used to make this process work. Shown here are some of the protocols that may be used with Federation services. Which Federation system you use and how it is configured will determine which protocols are used. At first, it may look confusing, with so many protocols being used. To get a better understanding, I will have a look at some of them in more detail. The first protocol that I will look at is WSTrust. WSTrust is the protocol that is responsible for secure message exchange between different servers. This communication is used to transfer tokens. This is important as there are many different types of Federation solutions. For example, if you have an Active Directory Federation server and a Linux-based Federation server, there needs to be a common protocol between these systems to allow them to communicate. This protocol defines how a token will be exchanged between different parts of the Federation system. The next question is, what information is exchanged between the two parties? The next protocol I will look at is SAML. SAML is an open standard for the exchange of authentication between different parties. It is often used in Active Directory Federation services to create tokens. So essentially, what you have so far is this. You have the protocol WSTrust, which defines how tokens are exchanged, their renewal if required, and creation of a secured channel for communication. SAML is used to create the token itself, although there are many different protocols that could be used other than SAML. To think of it a different way, imagine you are using the postal system. The postal system defines how items are posted. For example, they need to be in a box, and they need to have an address and stamps on them to be posted. But it is up to you to decide what to put in the box. In the example, WSTrust is used to define how communication will occur for tokens. However, SAML is used to define the token itself. Federation services can be used to communicate using many different methods. In most cases, certificates will be used. However, usernames and passwords could also be used. What can be accepted is referred to as an endpoint. To better understand this concept, I will open Server Manager on this computer, which is running Active Directory Federation services. Once Server Manager is open, I will next open Active Directory Federation Services Management from under the Tools menu. This server already has Active Directory Federation services installed and configured. In later videos, I will have a look at how to do this. However, in this video, I will have a quick look at the configuration to better understand how endpoints work in Active Directory Federation services. This will also give us a better understanding of how the protocols are used in Federation services. From ADFS Management, I will expand down through services until I get to Endpoints. This will show all the endpoints this server currently accepts. If I select one, notice this endpoint uses WSTrust 2005. This means the other Federation servers will need to support this as well. Notice that under Authentication, this is listed as Certificate. This means this endpoint will only accept WSTrust 2005 with certificates. If I select another endpoint, notice that this endpoint is also WSTrust 2005, but this time the authentication type is SAML token. You can see how customizable Federation services can be, allowing different protocols to be used together. In a lot of cases, this is just a matter of making sure that both sides accept the same protocols. Notice further down, this endpoint uses WSTrust 1.3, and the authentication type is Kerberos. Kerberos is a ticket-based system, so essentially, in an Active Directory environment, this means a Kerberos token is created and presented to the server. This endpoint would generally be used inside a company. If I scroll down, notice the endpoint under Metadata. This is an XML file that contains the configuration information for the Federation server. When setting up trusts in Active Directory Federation services, which will be covered in later videos, this file is used in speeding up that process. Without the XML file, when configuring a Federation trust, the information will need to be entered in manually for the trust. The last two protocols that I will look at are WSDL and UDDI. Both of these protocols are used to describe or advertise a web service. They are often used with other protocols, so you may not come across them directly that much. For this reason, I will simply make you aware of them at present, but will not go into detail about them. Well, that covers it for claims and protocols used by claims. I hope you found this video informative, and I hope that I see you in the other videos on this course and others. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.